Well, howdy there, folks. How are we doing today? Hopefully, you're all doing absolutely peachy keen, fantastic, wonderful. We are here in another little bit of Elden Ring. Today, I'm going to be talking a little bit about how you can make the world your own and how that can solve a lot of problems for you. And we're also going to be talking a little bit about the Holy Mother as well as Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. If you don't know, the Holy Mother is Sarada Devi. She was the wife of Ramakrishna. And she became the Holy Mother over time because she was so good and holy and had all kinds of great things going on. I really enjoy her. And we're going to start here with just a little quote from the Holy Mother that I was reading and thought about. If you want peace of mind, do not find fault with others. Rather, see your own faults. Learn to make the whole world your own. No one is a stranger, my child. The whole world is your own. I thought that was pretty neat. Pretty interesting way to think about it. Because basically, if the whole world is your own, then everything is you, and everything is connected to you. And in a sense, if you get mad at it, you're kind of just getting mad at yourself. So why get mad at yourself? It's kind of interesting to think about, like the kind of complicated theology that can arise from simply embracing the idea of non-duality and embracing the idea that you are ultimately connected to even the people that you kind of like hate or think you hate. And one of the things that's very interesting about this to me is that it always goes back to me to those two phrases from the Dhammapada, those twin verses. All that we are as a result of our thoughts is founded on our thoughts. It is made up of our thoughts. And what occurs to me is that we tend to foster more negative thoughts in a lot of cases. We tend to foster these thoughts that I think are personally far less healthy than the good thoughts. And it's really easy to. I'm going to ignore you for just a second. I'll come back to you. Don't worry. It's really easy to judge others and to look negatively at others while we try to look at the best of ourselves. I think that for a lot of us, we spend too much time judging others, partially as an escape from having to like realize our own faults and our own misdeeds and things like that. It can be really easy to just be like, oh well, I'm not that bad, or at least I'm not that bad compared to so and so other person, so it's fine and I don't have to worry about it. Or this person, did you see what this person did? Well, it all goes back to that Matthew 7, the verses from Matthew 7 that I talked about a little while ago, like the whole, like, you know, don't talk about the speck in your brother's eye while you have a plank in your own eye. Uh, there really is a lot of power in simply realizing that, we all make mistakes and that things, that you can move on from things and that you don't have to, like, sit there and dwell on things. But something that's very interesting is if you get into bhakti, which is, loving devotion, if you really get into bhakti, what you start to realize is that everything is, in a sense, the creation of God. Everything is related to God. It is, the we are all the children of God. And you might get annoyed with like a sibling. You might say, "Oh man, I really don't like my sibling," but in most cases, you're still gonna love your sibling. But now this is even more intense than that. It's not just that they're your sibling, it's that they're the child of God. And then not just that, they are also God. Isn't that neat? Because you see, we're talking about a non-dualism here, which means that there's basically only one, and that one is God. All things are made up of God and things like that. Which means that you're made of God. But not just you, everybody around you. Which is why the Holy Mother, says, no one is a stranger, my child. The whole world is your own. You are this whole world in a sense, and you are connected to this whole world. And you can think about that in multiple different ways. The Buddha would probably talk about like interdependence and interbeing. The idea that all of our, everything is founded on one another. There's no thing that is like completely independent from other things. And because we're all like interconnected, it makes sense to treat people well because in a sense you're treating yourself well by treating others well. And you could say, well, that's a selfish reasoning. It's like, well, sure, but it's still a logical reasoning. Like if you feel better and do better because you treat other people better, and you realize that those other people are actually connected to you and that you are never like entirely alone, it really kind of changes the way you interact with the world, because now the world is not merely, you know, made up of a bunch of strangers. It's made up of like all these things that that can affect you and are you in a sense. So you gotta treat them well, and if you treat them well, you'll find that you'll start to feel better, stuff like that. And it's kind of interesting too, because you know, even if you don't like buy into the whole even if you don't buy into exactly into the whole non-duality thing, you can still see the wisdom in this, because if you go around harboring hatred, greed, delusion, if you harbor all those negative thoughts, it's just going to be more negative in your brain. You're just going to be thinking about them, dwelling on them, and things like that, which I don't think is worth your time or your effort. So it's generally a much better idea to take the thoughts you have, examine them, and toss out the bad ones and keep the good ones, or not even doing that. Sometimes it's like, as I said before, it's best to live kind of detached from both and not to worry too much about either. I think what we tend to do is we tend to kind of separate ourselves. We put ourselves in one category, we put everybody else in another category. But the truth is, because we are all interconnected, we are all in the same category, and we need to just treat each other better. And like the divine, or I'm sorry, the Holy Mother says, which I guess is also the Divine Mother if you think about it. It's like all this. You don't like need to focus on like people being different. You need to focus on rather that we are all one. We are all connected. And it's really interesting to think about that, because I've personally found that if you can keep those kinds of thoughts up and keep those thoughts kind of going, it really does help with just real like just getting past anger and things like that. Because if people are in front of you and they're doing negative things and they're doing things that that bother you and stuff like that, then what you should do is go, well, I'm sure that there's times when I've been putting people off and things like that. And it's actually pretty interesting, because I'm reminded of a story shared by Swami Satarapidananda, where he was talking about how I can't remember what the Swami's name was, but there was a Swami in their order, and he wrote a letter to a senior Swami saying that he was having difficulties. Like it just feels like like I'm kind of doing this by myself. I feel like people aren't like doing what they need to do, and I have to put up with all these people. And it's like I've had it. I want to go be alone or whatever. And then the elder Swami wrote back, well, remember that people are putting up with you. So it's not just that, oh, I'm so perfect and everybody else is just like such an issue. It's more like nobody's perfect, and by dwelling on these mistakes, you're you should realize that people have to put up with you, that you're not perfect, that everybody has things that they dislike and like, and all this other stuff, that you have all of these surface level things which can kind of push you in one direction or another. And what you should really be doing is realizing that everybody is your own, that everybody has the same thing going on. And what's kind of interesting is, even if, like I said, even if you don't buy into non-duality, you can basically take it from the idea that everybody has their problems and everybody has to put up with one another, and that there is often trauma and things associated with it, and it's better to be a kind, loving person rather than sitting there being like, oh yeah, I'm perfect. Because remember, you're not perfect. I mean, you are perfect in a sense, but it gets kind of complicated. Meow. We'll talk about that one at a different point. But it basically, you got to remember that things are always happening, things are always changing, and that people are always dealing with those changes. Everybody has the same kind of mind to deal with. They're kind of using the same tools you are. And you got to remember sometimes that It's not going to be perfect, and that people around you are going might be difficult, but ultimately they're still your people in a sense, and you can't simply abandon them because they did something that you found a little annoying. And that it's very important to remember that God is present in every moment, and God is always here with us. So why not, dwell on that spirit of God rather than dwelling on, somebody's flaws and things like that. Why do that sort of thing? And realize, of course, that, yeah, everybody is one and everybody is interconnected. And that by helping one another and making things easier for one another, you're still helping yourself. So even if you just want to go approach it from a completely selfish angle, because we were all, connected and things like that, it makes more sense to simply allow one another to make mistakes and try to help one another and always be trying to grow, rather than sitting there being like, oh man, can you believe how bad this person is? And I'm not telling you that I'm perfect at this, because I'm not. I sometimes, as it's silly as it is, I'll be playing games of Warhammer or something, and sometimes I'll get annoyed with the other person because sometimes it's something as simple as they're taking a really long time, or other times it's something like, oh, I think that they interpreted a rule wrong, and like we can't agree, so I'm just letting them have it so that we can move on. And or there are little things, but I'm trying to get better about that every day, and just be like, okay, look, somebody has put something out that has upset me in some way. Well, first off, I don't need to be upset, because I'm not going to cling on to the thought of being upset. But also, there's the whole thing about, like I said, everybody is kind of going with their own thing, and everybody has their own issues, and we all have the same kind of silly-villy brain to deal with. So it's much better to sit there and accept people in kindness, and remember that we are all part of the same grand being, which is the whole universe, which is Brahman, and to try and remember that. Know what I mean? I think that taking possession of the world and taking possession of everybody within it, and understanding that everybody has this stuff to deal with, and that we are all interconnected, is, I think, very important. Know what I mean, Jimmy Dean? Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed that, and I'm trying to make these a little bit shorter, because sometimes I go on for like 30 minutes, and I don't necessarily need to go on for 30 minutes. Anyway, I hope that you all enjoyed this, and I hope that you like and subscribe and all that fun stuff, and I hope that you have an absolutely wonderful day, and I hope that you know that I love you, and God loves you, and that we are all together. Okay? Bye. Love you. Bye. God loves you. Bye.